Okay, so for anyone who grew up messing around with radio-controlled cars, um, you probably have some really fond memories of those classic Tamiya buggies,
Oh yeah.
like the Grasshopper II, the Super Hornet. They were like a rite of passage, weren't they?
Totally. Simple, tough, just a blast to drive.
Pure fun. But if you spend enough time with them, you definitely ran into their, let's call it, Achilles heel.
Mm-hmm. That rear shock mount.
Exactly. That lower rear shock absorber ball joint thingy.
Yeah.
It just constantly popped out. I mean, I remember my Super Hornet just stopping dead in its tracks and me hunting through the grass for that tiny little piece.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Yep. Lost a few myself.
So today, we're really going to dive deep into this. We want to figure out the real problem and, deliver a proper permanent fix. Okay, let's get into it.
And what's really interesting here, I think, for you listening, is that this isn't just like a single weak part failing. It's more systemic than that. Yeah, it's baked into the chassis design itself. We're going to break down exactly why it fails and, crucially, how to fix it for good, not just keep patching it up.
Okay, so let's peel back the layers then. Deconstruct the failure. People sometimes call it pivot slap, right?
That's the term, yeah.
These buggies, the Grasshopper II Super Hornet, they use that rolling rigid axle rear end. Super simple design. The motor and gearbox are all one unit that pivots.
Right. Wonderfully simple. But that simplicity, well, that's where the problem starts.
How so?
Okay, so when you accelerate, the motor's torque tries to rotate that whole gearbox assembly upwards.
Okay. Like it's trying to climb over the pivot point.
Exactly. And that action creates this really strong pulling force, a tensile force, between the top and bottom shock mounts.
Gotcha. It's stretching them apart.
Precisely. And the weak link in that chain, it's that stock, snap-fit plastic ball joint. The Tamiya part 0005341 on the Super Hornet. That and its little plastic socket, usually ABS plastic, they're not built for that kind of constant pulling.
So that explains why it pops. But I feel like it wasn't just a one-and-done thing. It seemed to get worse over time, didn't it? Like it created its own problems.
Oh, absolutely. It turns into a vicious cycle really fast. That pivot slap causes that bouncy, almost like a pogo stick handling, right?
The boingy effect. I remember that.
That's the one. And all that bouncing just hammers the joint, wears it out even faster, makes the damping even less effective, which leads to
more bouncing.
More violent bouncing, yeah. So the more it bounces, the more it wears, the easier it pops out. It's this feedback loop of failure that just ruins the driving experience.
Right. Now, a lot of people, myself included back then, tried that common fix. Swap out the ball joint for an M3 screw.
Mm-hmm. The machine screw.
Yeah, with the nylon lock nut. And usually a little brass or bronze bushing that be scavenged from one of those Tamiya CVA shock kits.
Right. The oil shock kits often had spares.
And look, on the surface, it seems like it solves it, makes a really strong connection that can't really be pulled apart.
It does make a strong connection. And that bushing you mentioned, that's absolutely critical.
Why the bushing specifically?
Well, it gives the shock a smooth, low-friction surface to pivot on. It gets rid of the slop, and crucially, it stops the plastic shock eyelet from grinding against the screw threads. Without it, that screw just chews up the plastic and makes your suspension bind up.
Okay, that makes sense.
Ow.
But something about that fix always felt a bit like, I don't know, using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Are we just forcing the issue somewhere else?
You put your finger right on it. That common screw and nut fix, it's really just a brute force method. It doesn't actually solve the root cause.
It pivot slap itself.
Exactly. It doesn't stop the gearbox trying to rotate upwards, so all that stress, which used to just pop the ball joint harmlessly, now gets transferred.
Where does it go?
To the next weakest points, which are usually the plastic mounting tabs or bosses, on the gearbox housing itself, and on the main chassis tub where the upper shock mounts.
Oh, that sounds bad.
It is. You're risking much more serious damage now. Cracking those main parts, snapping off mounting points. It's kind of the classic case of treating the symptom, but potentially causing a much worse underlying problem.
Okay, so that quick fix isn't the answer then? What's the real overhaul, the definitive solution? Sounds like we need a more holistic strategy.
Yes, exactly. A proper overhaul needs a three-pronged approach to really make these buggies reliable and perform well.
All right, lay it on us. Prong one.
First, foundational damping. You've got to get control of that bouncing. So upgrade to decent oil-filled shocks. The Tamiya CVA plastic ones, like the #5520 short CVA set, are a great starting
And
point.
just installing them isn't enough, right?
Still evening.
Right. You need
Yeah.
to tune them properly. Use relatively light silicone damper oil, maybe in the 200 to 300 trees range, that centistokes, a measure of viscosity,
Okay, light oil.
and use the 3-hole pistons inside the shocks. That combination gives you a much plusher, more controlled ride. It smooths things out and dramatically cuts down on that bouncing that starts the whole failure cycle. Okay, better jamming, solid foundation. But that doesn't stop the gearbox lift, the pivot slap itself. So what's step 2?
Step 2 is eliminate the root cause. You have to stop that gearbox rotation. The best way is an engineered transmission brace. There are aftermarket ones, like from Ampero Engineering.
Something that physically stops the gearbox from tilting up.
Precisely. Or there's a DIY option some people do, the anti-slap screw mod. It usually involves carefully drilling and putting an M3 screw through the chassis tub to brace the gearbox. Either way, you neutralize that upward rotation, stopping those tensile forces before they even start.
Okay, so control the bounce, stop the slab. What's the final piece?
The third prong, create that unbreakable connection, but do it properly now that the underlying forces are managed.
So back to the lower shock mount.
Yes. Use durable aftermarket lower shock mounts. You can get machined aluminum ones or even high-quality 3D prints in strong materials like PTG or maybe carbon fiber nylon.
Stronger materials.
Yeah, materials chosen for strength. And then combine those with that robust M3 screw, the nylock nut, and that crucial bushing we talked about.
So the screw and nut method is part of the solution, but only after you fix the other issues.
Exactly. It's the synergy. Good damping reduces the violence, the brace eliminates the root cause force, and the fortified mount provides a secure, durable connection. It addresses all parts of the original design flaw. Reliability, tunability, performance, the whole package.
So really, what this all boils down to for you listening, it's not just about how to fix your old Tamiya buggy. It's sort of a bigger lesson, isn't it?
I think so.
Understanding why something fails is key. That popular screw fix. It felt like a solution, but it was actually potentially setting you up for a much bigger headache down the road.
Yeah, and if you connect that idea more broadly, this whole process, it takes your classic buggy from having this known kind of accepted flaw to being genuinely robust. Engineered strength, really.
It's designing the problem out, not just trying to contain it.
Precise.
You know, this whole deep dive makes you think. How often do we apply quick fixes in other areas, maybe just shifting a problem instead of solving it? It really shows the value of digging deeper, finding that root cause for truly lasting solution.
Absolutely.
So maybe next time you're tackling some persistent issue, whatever it might be, take a moment. Think about the deeper mechanics. What's the real issue here? And how can you fix it right from the ground up? Something to think about as you go out there and maybe build something better.